Hey guys, so I was watching YouTube yesterday, and one of the videos recommended to me was by Assemble, and he basically talked about what was coming, like DLC wise and everything for AEW Fight Forever. Now he did mention that the hold on for a sec. Sorry, almost got tongue tied there. And it's early too, so I do apologize. But he did mention the already announced DLC packs we're getting, as well as the pre-order bonus that we're getting, depending on how you purchase the game. Now, if you just purchase the game, as is, then individually online you can purchase a lot of these items. Now, if you get the season pass or the elite edition that has the season pass, then you're gonna get all these things, all at once, or over time. Basically he talked about the fact that, it's already been announced that Matt Hardy and Broken Matt Hardy, his alter ego, we're going to be getting as a pre-order bonus, or we can basically buy digitally as a DLC upon the day of the game's release, along with FTR as well, who's going to be in the first pack of Season 1, along with some mini games. He also talked about we're getting the Limitless Bunny pack, which was already announced, which is going to be the DLC pack of Keith Lee and Allie the Bunny, Cherry Bomb, if you will. And then he talked about the Hookhausen DLC pack that we're getting to, I guess, as of right now, essentially round out Season 1. Now, he assumed that if that's going to round out Season 1, then Season 2 would have to be around September and October. And he might be right. He might be right. Because if AEW and Ukes and THQ Nordic are determined to make this, what they say it is, a one and done game, for at least the next several years, then they're going to really have to, give it the all when it comes to making that happen. Because if they don't, then obviously it's going to prove that maybe they should have just followed the formula that WWE's been doing, and that's just bring out a new game every year with just an updated roster and updated match types and everything. But obviously they want to try to take that concept and say, hey, we don't have to release a new game every year. We'll just update this one, with its roster as well as with match types and stuff like that. Now, like I said, he mentioned that the DLCs that we're getting, Matt Hardy, the bonus one, if you will, FTR, Keith Lee and Allie the Bunny and the mini games, and then Hook and Danhausen. He mentioned that along with mentioning those, he also kind of was speculating like, who else could AEW put in there? Who else could THQ Nordic and Ukes and AEW Games put in there for future DLC packs? And that is a good question. Now, before I get into that, he did mention something that I think is going to be a bit of a negative, but maybe in future updates and DLCs, they will, address this, because I know a lot of gamers that are looking forward to this are either going to be cool with it because they like the challenge and everything, or they're not going to be cool with it because, they automatically are so accustomed to building up the stats of their created character, in the likes of WWE, 2K, that this is going to be a little different for them and it might be a turnoff. Because what they're saying is that, your character, once you create it, will not be able to go up against the established AEW roster in the game. And that the only way you could do that is to build your character up through the story mode, I guess you could say, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their story mode, their their GM mode, if you will, Road to the Elite. I think that's what it was, GM mode or something like that. I got to go back and look. It was My Rise. That's what it was. My Rise in WWE 2K. Apparently, Road to the Elite is the equivalent of that. And just like with My Rise, you have to win matches, do certain things, and all that to earn points and everything to increase your abilities and unlock moves and stuff like that, which is good and everything. But the big difference, though, obviously, like I said, that people are going to look at and maybe not be fond of, is that a lot of folks are more accustomed, they're more used, if you will, to just creating a character and utilizing them right off the bat by increasing their stats up to, let's say, 85 to 100, so that way they can go up against the likes of, let's say, a Roman Reigns who's at 100, or a John Cena, or a AJ Styles. Give them a match, if you will. So apparently this is an issue. Excuse me, there. This is an issue that a lot of that assembled, and people like Chris Danger and anybody else that's talked about it on YouTube and social media. This is an issue that, like I mentioned, some may be cool with because they like the challenge. Being gamers and everything. They like the challenge. And but it might also be something that, as I mentioned, not a lot of people are going to be very fond of, because it's like, you're taking the fun out of this by limiting us to just going up against our created characters. So hopefully that is something that they will address and everything, like I mentioned, in future DLCs, to where maybe a future update will allow you to, equip your character with as much, power and abilities and stuff like that, as wrestling fans, playing the WWE 2K games are accustomed to. So yeah, that is one thing that, that may or may not be kind of, it basically will probably be like 50-50 down the middle, when it comes to people that are going to get the game and want to play it and create characters and stuff like that. But getting back to what Assemble talked about in his video, the potential for future DLCs, after the first season, of, Matt Hardy, FTR, Keith Lee, The Bunny, Danhausen, and Hook. He talked about the possibility of other DLCs we could get. For example, he talked about like some of the legends that could be included. He brings up two legends, if you will. You can consider them legend. You can consider him a legend because, if nothing would have happened, there's no doubt that he would have transitioned more into a backstage role, an occasional in-ring role, and all that. Than what he had initially. But, he used the likes of Owen Hart and Brody Lee, who are no longer with us, as examples of legends, wrestlers that Tony Khan, AEW Games, THQ Nordic, and Ukes could probably bring into the game. He even acknowledged that Paul White, the Big Show, if you will, he's a legend, and he's in the game. Where you have to unlock him, I think, by going to the shop or doing something, to unlock him with points or something. But he acknowledged he's in the game, and he's looked at as a legend for everything he's accomplished. And, Assemble basically said, well, when you look, or not said, but pointed out, I should say, that if you look at the legends they have, working behind the scenes, and on camera as like advisors and managers, then they have enough to do maybe the following season as a legend season, maybe. Like, you could have a pack, a pack of legends, to start off the season, the start of the second season. Like, right now they have Jake the Snake, Taz, and Arn Anderson, as part of the AEW roster as, backstage producers, on-screen, managers, stuff like that. So, so basically you have these people, available to you to basically recreate into essentially the younger form. And I think that's one of the things that people did mention that they did with somebody in the game is they made the person into who, because basically they're older and everything, but they want to utilize them in the game as a playable character, that they basically aged that character down. I don't know who it was that they said that they did it to, but that's pretty much what I heard. Now, as I was mentioning, he brought up the fact that they could do something like that where you could get, younger skin versions or younger representations of Arn Anderson, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Taz, as they used to be looked at back in their days in the ring. So that could be, so I do agree that could be something they do. That could be something that they, look into for a future seasonal pass. Mostly, like, let's say, to kick off the season two run of the game. Now, you also have, believe it or not, Excalibur. Excalibur, believe it or not, was a wrestler, on the indies, in PWG, in CZW, and all that, before I guess he decided to step away because of a career-ending injury or something. But they could also add in Excalibur as part of that Legends pack too, because, many might look at him as a legend of the independent scene. So, that would be something, that would be something that they could do as well. And of course you have the rest of the roster too, both AEW and Ring of Honor, that they could really pick from when you get down to it. Like, you could have an ROH pack. They even mentioned that, hey, we could have an ROH pack in the second season or in future seasons. We could have, a New Japan pack, but they'd have to work with New Japan to make that happen. You could even have a Bullet Club pack, because there are people that, are, in AEW now, part of Bullet Club, like let's say Jay White and Juice Robinson, and I guess now the Gun Club. You have these individuals who are not in the game right now that are part of Bullet Club Gold. So you could do a Bullet Club pack as well. Basically, what Assemble pointed out, and I do agree with him, is the possibilities are just, like Keith Lee himself, limitless. They are limitless or unlimitless, if you will, when it comes to future DLCs. Now, the DLCs don't just have to, be limited, if you will, to in-ring competitors. You also have, like, match types they could bring in. You also have, events, if you will, arenas for events that they could create. You have the whole 9 yards. I mean, right now, what they have event-wise, as far as I know, for arenas, is they have Rampage, they have Dynamite, they have Dark Elevation. Pay-per-view-wise, I think they have all the pay-per-views. I think they do. I know they have Double or Nothing. I know they have Full Gear. And I think they have All Out and Revolution. If not, then those last two could be part of a DLC as well as Forbidden Door and all in London. Excuse me, there. All in London. Those two could be part of feature updates and DLC packs, and they add those in again. They're living up to what they promised. They're making this game, a nearly one and done game by constantly adding onto it as the years go by, or as the years, the months, and everything, the seasons go by. They're constantly adding to it. But we do know that AEW, mostly Tony Khan, likes to, when the opportunity presents itself, likes to sign on new talent. Especially if they, get free of the contract from up in Connecticut, or they get free of the contract from Japan or Mexico, or or between the Toronto Nashville area, for courtesy of Impact, stuff like that. We know Tony Khan likes to try to get his hands on them to make them all elite. And depending on who he could get, again, the possibilities are just unlimitless to, those that could be added on for future DLCs. In fact, the thumbnail that Assembled used showcase each circle. He kind of put in a circle in that thumbnail Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks, basically indicating that if Tony Khan could get something done with Sasha Banks to make something like a pay per appearance, with AEW, not be fully committed, but basically make a pay per appearance, that could also mean she could be included as a DLC, as part of a DLC, in the game during one of the seasonal drops of DLC and updates. So, so basically the opportunity, is there for this game to be exactly what, AEW Games, THQ Nordic, and Ukes, and AEW overall wanted to be. It's got that opportunity to be just that. And let's not forget, with Collision showing up real soon, like I said, in addition with, probably if they don't already have it in the game, in addition to putting in the all out and Revolution arenas, which I think they should have in the game already, but if not, in addition to putting those in as part of future DLC packs, you could see the addition, as I mentioned, of All In, or the All In London set, the original All In set, as well as you could see, and most likely see, the Ring of Honor arena and the Collision arena. It only makes sense that, if you're gonna, if you're finally giving Ring of Honor its own show, even though people have to, get behind a paywall to, watch it, or just wait till somebody puts it on YouTube. If you're going to give them their own show, and you're going to try to make a majority of those shows take place at Universal Studios, then it makes sense that you got to put a Ring of Honor arena in there as well. Maybe even a Final Battle and Supercard of Honor, arena in there in addition, as well as they did before Dishonored one. So the opportunity is there to do that, as well as with Collision debuting in the next, 9 days, next 9 days, next week basically, then you have the opportunity to add that collision arena in there too. So, there are many, many chances that I see in front of, AEW in the Fight Forever game. There are many chances and opportunities that I see in front of them for them to really build upon, the promise of this being for the time being, a one and done game that constantly gets updated over time. It'll basically, the way they're trying to set it up is in the veins of, let's say, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, as well as trying to set it up in a similar way like with Street Fighter V, and maybe now Street Fighter VI. Because I remember with Street Fighter V, after not playing it for a while, I was playing it, and I had to update it. And all of a sudden, it was updated to, basically real time. And it got updated to the Champion Edition that got released. It got updated to, using different things, tournaments, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. And why? Because they were basically trying to, freshen it up, make it feel like it's new, even though it was the same game. They were freshening it up, trying to make it look new and attractive to those that maybe haven't got it yet. And, for those that did, like me, it basically made it more replayable, because now it felt like a completely familiar but different game. Same with Smash Brothers Ultimate. You know, you get all these new characters and new venues and stuff like that, and it feels like a very familiar but new game. And if that's the direction that AEW wants to go with Fight Forever, or they're going to try to go with them in the next several years, you know, with these seasonal passes, DLCs, and all that, then what I've mentioned, what Assembled has mentioned, what others have mentioned, you know, those DLCs, those updates that they could probably get their hands on, you know, the sky is the limit. You know, the sky is definitely the limit for them to, to really, make that promise that this will be a one and done game for the time being a reality. It really is. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. What DLCs besides the ones I've mentioned and others have mentioned, from a, in-ring, from a superstar wrestler perspective, would you like to see? Arena-wise, you like to see? And what other stuff would you like to see them kind of improve on over time? Because I know one complaint will be, like I said, the creative wrestlers having to be built up, in Road to the Elite to be on equal footing with the established roster. So that might be something that gets addressed. But what about entrances? I know some people may not like the short entrances and they'll want to get like a full experience like what they're used to in the WWE 2K series. Could that be something they address as well? We'll have to see. As well as maybe one of the future DLCs or updates will be, when you do a created character, you'll have a community creation added in there down the line to where you could upload and share your creation with others to download and utilize in their games, just like in the 2K series, and vice versa. Could that be something they'll bring to the table in the near future? We'll have to see. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. How do you feel about it? Comment down below. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Super chats are open during the live chat if you want to help donate there. And super thanks as well if you feel like doing it down there in the display when you bring up the title of the video and everything on your screen. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment below. Support me where you can. You got the links in the description to support me in the areas I would like. I would be appreciative if you guys do. I do apologize again. It's early. It's about 8:21 in the morning now. But yeah, give me your thoughts overall. I'd love to hear from you on your thoughts about AEW and the possibilities for the Fight Forever game that I and others have just mentioned. Let me know down below and the live chat. Well, again, super chats are open. And until then, talk to you later.